It was this video that reignited the conversation about representation in the fashion industry. Raven Schexnayder worked her first New York Fashion Week show back in September, and it was one she says she will never forget. The hairstylist in charge of manipulating her textured hair had no clue where to start when trying to mimic the same styles they had performed on other models.
The problem wasn't that they did my hair. Like, the problem was more of like the fact that they did it so bad and then they were like, oh, it's slicked. Like, this is what it's supposed to look like. Like, literally, like, making me think that my hair looks good when it's like everybody else's hair is slicked down how it's supposed to be slicked down.
Raven says that prior to them attempting to style her hair, she noticed she was the only model with textured hair, and without wanting to be labeled difficult, she tried to offer them advice with how to begin styling her hair.
Uh, I I spoke up, but at the same time, I was very respectful. Like, I wasn't like being rude. Um, I was just like, hey, like if you guys need help, like I know how to do slick ponytail, like blah blah blah. So like that's like the furthest I could have went. And once they started ignoring me and like literally whispering behind my back, it was just like I really can't do it. Like I'm literally powerless in this situation. And like even like the designer, like he just like wasn't very helpful either. So it was just like I literally couldn't do much. Like the designer helped out with them like starting my hair because he's like, hey, you guys need to start her hair. Like her hair is gonna take hours. But even that, it was kind of like joking and like laughing at me, which is and then they all kind of like laughed, like, haha, yeah, we all have to start on her hair. It's gonna take forever. And it was just kind of like I literally just felt so like isolated.
But this seems to be more common in the fashion industry than one would think. Another model during New York Fashion Week faced the same problem as Raven. Taylor Larzo posted about how she had to cut off majority of her hair after it was severely damaged. There are four main types of hair. One is straight, two is wavy, three is curly, and four is tightly curled. All hair types, except straight hair, have additional levels labeled as A, B, and C. A majority of black hair textures fall under the curly and tightly curled categories, which requires different styling techniques than straight and wavy. The founder and owner of Candace Witherspoon's salon in Chelsea says that when she was in cosmetology school, hairstylists weren't required to know how to style curly and tightly curled hair types.
I actually just started with Diva Curl. I got my training with Diva Curl, learning how to cut natural hair because I didn't start with natural hair. I started straightening hair and blow drying hair, and I transitioned maybe 7 years ago to fully doing natural hair. I think for a long time, like schools weren't even teaching natural hair. So we just really started to learn. When I was in beauty school, I didn't learn natural hair. There weren't any course about that. And that I went to beauty school 12 years ago. So I think in the past 5 years, you're able to take a natural course of this curly. So a lot of hairdressers don't know because it wasn't a big deal. You didn't have to learn.
The Milady Standard Cosmetology has been one of the leading resources for cosmetology schools since 1938, and earlier this year, they released their 14th edition of their textbook. It is the first edition to include a natural hairstyling section, and according to the Crown Act law, only 19 states require some form of training for natural hairstyling. Culture and identity writer Kovie Biakolo says to look at the process of cosmetology schools and who gets excluded from them, who can afford them, and that this can play a big role into why these schools are so late in the game at preparing stylists to be able to style and care for natural curls.
I mean, we know that, in the communities where we go to get our hair done, sometimes those ladies may not have the proper licenses, but they can do hair, and that's just what it is. And I do think it's important to find a way to support, the women in that sort of situation where they need the proper license, the proper paperwork, but actually know how to do it.
New York Fashion Week's hiring process ensures that hairstylists have the proper qualifications and licenses. According to a job posting on Indeed for New York Fashion Week in 2023, a hairstylist must have experience with updos, ponytails, molds, braids, and styling. A stylist must also have tools like blow dryer, shears, and a flat iron. But the post indicates nothing about knowing how to style textured hair. So is it that fashion shows aren't making sure they're hiring the right people? Or is it that many hairstylists who understand natural curls are overbooked or unknown? Is there more of a need for these types of hairstylists? Covier says they just aren't looking in the right places.
You can go to 125th, you can come to Brooklyn, New York, and you can find somebody to do your hair. I think any other thing you're saying to me is just bullshit. So that to me is just not a valid excuse.
Print and runway model Mauricio Hernandez agrees with Covier and says it's nerve-wracking worrying about his hair right before a shoot or gig, so he supports the local hair salons that know how to do and care for his hair.
You kind of want to go with your hair already done just in case there isn't somebody there that's going to do it like properly. So usually when I go, my hair is already done and they just like touch it up with like some hairspray or something.
Candace says that as a hairstylist, she made it her duty to understand textured hair.
DivaCurl taught me to care for my clients' curl and the hair and just pay attention to what the hair is doing, because the hair is going to tell you, the hair will tell you what it needs. As soon as the client's sitting in the chair or they get to the sink, it's like, oh, this is what you need.
So what are the next steps here? Covier says more needs to be done, and it starts with making it a requirement to learn how to do textured hair and making sure all hairstylists are well versed.
Whether it's makeup or it's hair, the people who are invited to do that should be able to do a broad range of people. And that's just, you should not be allowed to be in the room unless you can do a broad range of people. Every Black makeup and hair person I've ever gone to knows how to do more than just Black people. You will find out very quickly, people will learn how to do our hair the minute it becomes a requirement for them to do their job.